Hi there, welcome back to my channel Scrap and Coffee. My name is Ivanka and we are continuing with the Simple Life folio. Unfortunately, although I really wanted to do the decorating on camera, time-wise I think I've been working on this folio for 5.5 weeks now, and this is how far I got. So I had to make the decision to work on the decorating in moments where I could do some crafting but not able to make a video. So I continued with decorating my layers, and the first one is stuck down. The other two I still need to do that, and I need to glue them down before I need to measure out for my element here on the back cover. So we're going to stick these down first. So I think I said it after the construction of layer 1 where to construct this layer, but we've placed our base piece here at the back cover with our acetate page on it, and you are going to fold on your 1/2 inch score line of layer 1, and you are going to align the fold with the cut edge of that piece of paper that we've glued down here on the back cover. And if you don't have that paper there, but I think you will have it because that's how I did it, you're gonna stay away about, let's say 1/16 of an inch from your gusset area, up to 1/8 of an inch from your gusset area here. But yeah, I hope you have that piece of paper there, and then you follow the cut edge of that paper that you can see there. Then for our second layer, which is this one, I'm going to fold again on my 1/2 inch score line. So all these pieces I still have to decorate. I will do that later on. And we have a score line here. And we are going to place that 1/2 inch score line up against, this fold of layer 2 up against that score line where it can still fold. So we're gonna kiss it, but we're not gonna go over it. So this can function nicely as a fold. So what I like to do is what I do with construction of my pages, etc. a lot, is just remove the tape backing a little bit, fold that back, and then I can line it up here at the bottom. So I go up against the score line without going over, line it up with the bottom, and then bring it along that score line, hold it in place, and remove the tape backing carefully and stick it down. So then we have this one in place. And then our third layer, again I'm going to fold on my first score line, but we have a little bit of a wider part there. So I'm not sure I did this on camera, but I've put a strip of 3/8 inch tape and a strip of 1/4 inch tape on it. And I'm going to fold on that first score line. And now I'm going to bump it up against the score line of layer 1. So the score line right here is where I'm going to place it up against without going over, so that can function as a proper fold there. So with having 2 layers of tape, it's a little bit more tricky to do the way that I like to do it, but it's possible. But so same thing, I line it up along the bottom, up against the score line, and then I bring it to the top, stick it down, hold it in place. Don't push on it too hard because then your tape backing might rip, so you want to give it some space where you are trying to pull it off, especially with the double layer. And then we have it in place. And so this part is a little wider for a reason, because we are sticking it on top of a 1/2 inch part already. We want to prevent that we have one thick layer with a really thick edge there. So this makes that a little bit better. So at this moment I need to do a quick measurement, and I suggest that you measure this out for yourself as well. And of course they just start mowing the lawn at the moment I turn on my camera. It's just like they know that I'm starting to do this, right? That's how it feels. Of course they don't, but that's how it feels sometimes. Okay, so I have just a hair under 6 1/4 here, which means that I'm going to make my element 6 1/8 of an inch. I'm sure that I can fit that, but I want you to measure from score line to score line and make sure that if you make it 6 1/8 of an inch, that you're going to fit in between your score lines. I will be fine. So I'm going to prepare my pieces and then I will turn my camera back on. Okay, I'm back. Although they're still mowing the lawn, I'm just hoping that the noise is not too bad on the video. I've prepared my first 3 pieces. Normally I have things completely figured out and I have all my pieces prepared and I know what I'm doing. And it's not completely the case today. I have to figure it out step by step, do some measuring. So I'm just going to film it in steps. But I have my first 2 pieces completely prepared. I'm gonna make a waterfall element. And what I have here is I got 3 pieces that are 6 1/8 of an inch in width by 10.5 inches in height. Now if you're using 12 by 12 paper and you think, oh, it's way more convenient to make it 6, sure, that's fine. The only thing is you need to crop your photo down a little bit if you want to stick it on there, but sure, you can do 6. And also I'm attaching it into the folio this way is going to be a little bit more tricky. But it reduces bulk, so that's why I'm doing it this way. But if you rather make 6 flaps, you can do that as well. So then you would have to cut 6 pieces that are 6 1/8 of an inch by 5.5. Do I say that right? By 5.5, and you score 1/2 inch. That could also work, but this is how I'm going to do it because I like this way of a waterfall. It reduces bulk. But yeah, you do need to take in account that attaching it in the folio can be a little bit more tricky. So 10.5 by 6 1/8 of an inch, and with the 10.5 on top, I'm going to score at 5 inches and at 5.5 inches. Then I'm going to place it on my work surface with the dented side facing me. And I'm going to get a ruler and a pencil. And I'm going to measure on the right bottom corner 1/2 inch from the edge, 1/2 inch. So like this, and then I turn the piece around and I do the same thing. Important is that you do this the same on all 3 pieces. And what I'm going to do is now you can draw yourself a line and cut with your scissors. I'm just going to line it up in my paper trimmer, but we're going to cut from the pencil mark on this side up to the corner on top, and we do that on both sides, the same cut. So I'm going to line it up in my paper trimmer, and then it looks something like this. So we've got that angle in there. Then I'm going to get myself some 3/8 inch tape, and on the indented side I'm going to place a strip of tape in between my score lines. And I do have to say, if you're going to work with separate flaps, so if you're going to cut 6 flaps, then you have to do it one on this side and then another one on the other side for cutting your angle. But if you do it this way, then you make sure that you do it the same on every single flap, every single piece. Okay, so my tape is on there, and then I'm going to fold towards the bumpy side. And when I fold, I'm making sure that my edges on the side are nicely lined up, and then burnish my fold. So on both of your score lines. So making sure that my edges are lining up. There we go. And then these flaps are made to fit a 6x4 with a strip of pattern paper, and I understand that it's really hard to see, but we have like a angle here in our waterfall. So we have 3 of those flaps prepared, and we can place them in our folio right now. So I'm going to let's see. Yes, I have my folio upside down. Is that what I want? Maybe I want it sideways. I'm not sure yet. But for now it's upside down. I'm going to go all the way to the back. And what I did, and I'm not sure if it's going to help me really well, but we'll see when we're doing it. I went to the score lines of our attachment flaps that we just did with the pages. And I've marked from the cut edge of the paper that I have here. On top, I've measured 1 inch made a little tick mark, and I measured 2 inch, made a little tick mark, and maybe I want to do that on the other side of the score line as well. I can erase it later on, just a small tick mark. And then I did the same on this side of the on the other score line, on the other side. So at 1 inch and at 2 inches. So you want to have a tick mark that's an inch apart from each other. Then I'm going to get my first flap that I've prepared, and I think I'm going to turn my piece a little sideways. Now this is where, because it's pretty big, where it's going to be tricky, right? So I'm going to attach my first piece so that my tape is on the bottom, right, with that 1/2 inch, and I'm going to even out the space towards the score line, so I have like 1/16 of an inch on both sides, which is a nice amount of space, and I try to have that straight. So I always give it a dry fit to make sure that I really fit nicely and that I'm able to line it up. And I'd rather have my side of the flap go straight along the score line here, so the space stays the same amount, than that I'm really lined up with my cut edge on top. So those are just little things that I'm looking at, like I want to have that go straight, rather that than following the cut edge on top. So again, making sure that that space is somewhat evened out, and when I'm happy with my placement, I'm gonna stick it down. So that was the first one, that's the easy one. We'll open up the top flap and give that a burnish. And we can also flip the top one up, burnish that one. So now I'm going to go to my second flap, and I have my pencil tick marks there, so that's going to help me with aligning the height somewhat. But again, even more important is, and I know it's really hard to see with the black, is that when I fold my top one down, I want the bottom point of the bottom flap, the longest point of the bottom flap of the first one that we already stuck down, to line up with the highest point of the top. So that's the shortest side of the top flap of our second piece, right? I want those two to come together. So that's where, so these pencil lines give me a guide. So that's why I say I don't know how much they are actually going to help me. I'm going to line up the sides, and then it's hard to see with the black, but I'm going to line up that point there. There we go. So I'm just having my eye on all those things, and once I'm happy, I'm going to hold that in place, flip this one up, hold it in place, and try to peel that tape backing away without moving my piece. So that's why I say it's tricky to get it exactly right this way. And with loose flaps you might have a little bit less of an issue with it. So I stuck down that one corner, and I'm gonna go back in to make sure that I didn't move it. Okay, yep. Hold it. Okay. But also with the loose flaps, don't just blindly bump it into each other. Make sure that you're lining up on the sides, making sure that your angles are lining up. Okay, so now I have to repeat this one more time. So I'm going to give myself a guide on where I think it needs to go. Close my middle flap, and that's actually pretty good. Pretty good. So hold it. Stick down that one corner. Pretty confident that I did a good job here without moving it, but I'm just double checking. Yep. Stick it down. Okay, then we have our 3 pieces that create 6 flaps in place, and you don't really see the the illusion that we've created with the angles until we've put our pattern paper on, especially with this black paper. So I'm excited for getting to that point where I can put that on. But I want to keep this all shut in place. So I need to measure. Here I have 3 5/8. Okay, I've got 2 pieces prepared. So my first piece is 6 1/8 of an inch by 5.5 inches. And on the 5.5 inch side I scored at 5 or half an inch, same thing. And then I have a piece that is 7 1/8 of an inch by, I cut it a slight hair under 4 inches, like 1/16 under 4 inches, so slight hair, not a complete 1/8 of an inch. And on the 7 1/8 of an inch side we're going to score half an inch and 6 5 inches. And then on that just under 4 inches side we're going to score half an inch. So I normally don't use this scoreboard because my pieces are always too big for it. Okay, let's start with our first piece, our flap. And I didn't give them a letter because yeah, I don't know why. I didn't check my cutting guide to see where I left off with the letters. So I don't know. I might put it in the video for the people that have the cutting guide, so you're sure you have the right piece for it. My thingy. Okay, so I put some tape on the indented side, and what I'm going to do is, this is going to be the highest point, right? Let's double check. Yes, so that's going to be the highest point. Okay. So with the tape on the bottom, I'm going to measure on the right top corner half an inch down. And then I'm going to cut that angle off. And let's give that a burnish, a fold and a burnish on my score line. And I am going to angle this half inch slightly. Oh man, they're making so much noise. I need to get like one of those lights like you have in like the, what is it, in the radio stations, like on air or something. You know, like just be quiet or something. I don't think they will listen to it anyway, but okay, I'm going to attach this flap first, and we're gonna attach it here along the bottom cut edge, lining it up on the sides with our flaps that we already have in place. And I'm gonna make it where it's going to go over the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flaps, and then I'm going to place the top flap over the bottom flap, if that makes sense. I feel like I didn't really cut nicely here. A little bit of a straight edge, well, we'll see. Okay, so again I'm going to place it a little sideways because that's easy for me. Well, not right now because the project is quite big and I don't have the space, but I'm lining up the fold of my piece with the bottom cut edge, and then I'm aligning it with the sides of the flaps that I already have in place. And of course with that making sure that I'm not going over any of the score lines here. I need to go a little lower, stick it, and hold it. There we go. Okay, so that one is in place. Then I have my other piece, pocket. Also half an inch. So here along the score line on the right hand side, so I have a score line on the bottom and 2 on the sides. So on each side I have a score line. So on the right one, on my score line, I'm going to measure from my top cut edge 1/2 inch down on the score line, and then measure from the top of the left score line. You want to continue the line all the way to the cut edge, so you can line it up in your paper trimmer. So you cut from the top score line here on the left top, and you measure 1/2 inch down on the score line here, and then you continue the line all the way to the cut edge. So here the 1/2 inch stays intact, and here we're going to cut into it. So that would look something like this. And yes, you can make an acetate window in here if you want to. You know, I'm in doubt because something in me wants to do it, and something in me says, look, we have acetate here, we have acetate here. Do I really need another acetate element here? It's also about balance. But then again, this is like my acetate galore folio, right? So what do we think? What if I say I do it, and then you can make up for yourself if you want to do this as well? Or do you think it's maybe too much? But let's go for it. I'm going to flip it over to the bumpy side, and we have been working with 5/8 inch frames, so of course that's what I'm doing here as well. So along the bottom where I have a score line, I measure 5/8 of an inch from the score line. I do the same thing on the sides, the short sides where we have the score lines. And then here along the angled edge, I'm going to line up my 5/8 inch grid line with that angle, with the cut edge, and draw that line as well. So we're going to get a little angle in our frame as well, right? So then I need my pokey tool. And the other day I received an email from somebody that was looking for something like this, and she had like this really fancy name for it, and I already forgot what it was exactly, like something with a AWL stylus or something like that. And I really went like, oh my goodness, what is an AWL stylus? I just call it a pokey tool. But it's yeah, it was funny. I found it funny. Like, I don't even know the proper names for the tools that I'm using. Okay, so let's cut from intersection to intersection. But I was able to help her out. That's nice, right? Okay, so now I have to measure for the acetate, and I have to dig into my closet to find some acetate, but that will be fine. So I'm measuring at the highest point, 2 7/8 by 5 5/8 of an inch. Okay, I found an almost perfect scrap piece. Yes, perfect. So, well, not perfect yet. See there, we need to cut an angle in that acetate, right? So to take the guessing away from it, I'm going to align my ruler here with the pencil line that I still have there from the bottom cut edge of my frame, and then I'm going to align my acetate 3/8 of an inch below that, and then I can mark with a Sharpie so I have my pencil line here, and then I'm going to go 3/8 of an inch up. Well, I can do a little less than that, but, and I mark it, and then I'm going to cut from there. Do I say that right? Yeah, so from that mark up to the top corner here of the acetate. So basically we're cutting off that angle again. Yes, and now it's perfect. So this is how we need to stick it down. So in order to make sure that we're going to place our tape on the right side, I'm going to flip it over. And my 1/4 inch tape, all the way at the bottom of my pile. So along the cut edge, some 1/4 inch tape or smaller. Carefully give that a burnish. And then we can stick it down. Okay, so making sure that we have that little bit of a black border all around. There we go. Nice. So some tape here on the indented side, on the 3 sides. Again, giving that a burnish, and then we're going to miter the corners. There we have it. And let's fold on those score lines, and let's check if what we don't want is our flap sticking out. So here on this side it is sticking out a little bit, so I'm going to give that a slight angle so it's no longer sticking out, and then do the bottom. Okay, so for attaching this, we don't want to follow the fold of our bottom flap. We need to stay a little bit above it, and we don't want to bump into our top flap. So we're gonna make sure that we have a little bit of space towards our flap. See, there's a little bit of space in between, and I have about 1/8 of an inch here towards my bottom fold of the bottom flap. It's like nice and confusing. So just making sure that that's straight. What I'm going to do is, I kind of know where I need to place it, but I'm placing a little bit of a tick mark to just make sure that I have the right height. And I will follow the line on the side of the flap and do the same thing there. So I kind of know where I need to stick it down now. So I'm going to remove my bottom, hold it in place, and then I can use my pencil marks for a guide. So what I will do is I'm going to line up the side. That helps me in going straight, but I still have my tape backing there, right? So I can still move that around. Okay, now I'm not gonna be bothered with putting my tape here because I'm gonna put pattern paper behind the frame anyway. And now I can stick the sides down. Okay, nice. So now the idea of this is, let's let's stick this photo mat down. So what am I doing on here? Oh right, my just a simple line dot line thing. I think I stole this doodle from Paul Ford. He has some good ideas. I stole quite a lot of his ideas actually, but I always be honest about it. So I hope he doesn't mind. And let's do a little bit of a stamp on here. So the funny thing for my stamps is I always get a lot of questions about this stamp, but this is an old stamp that I found on Amazon and I'm no longer able to find it. So I don't know, but I also like for stamping, my camera stamp, I never use black ink. This is called Morning Mist Versafine, which is just a little bit of a softer touch to it, and I just, for some reason, that feels so much better to me than a harsh black stamp. I don't know why, but that's just what it is. So I have a photo mat here. As you can see, I've cut that out of a scrap piece with a letter on there. Something was wrong with it, obviously, but I can use it perfectly for a photo mat. So we have our waterfall. So we are going to close down our first 5 flaps, then we fold the bottom flap, top flap, and then we put something in the pocket, and we need a little bit more weight on that, but it's going to keep everything closed. I kind of like the acetate here. I don't feel it's overdoing it for now. The other thing is we do have a little bit of space here. I think I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to add even more pockets because that's going to create a lot of bulk under your flaps as well. And I didn't give this one a gusset, so I think I want to leave it like this. Just put some pattern paper there, maybe an extra photo mat or some journal opportunity, or maybe make a tuck space with the pattern paper. Different kind of options there without creating the bulk of our black cardstock there. So yes, I like it. That's nice that I have that 3/8 inch space there. I still need to fill up all of this, but I did most of my photo mats. I did work on that a little bit because otherwise it's going to be that thing that's going to stay all the way to the last part. Okay, so we have our elements on the folio side basically in place. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I didn't do as much layers as I wanted to in the beginning, but because my elements sometimes are take up quite a lot of space, I'm just happy that I hold back a little bit. And the last thing that we need to do is work on our front cover. So my priority is getting that on camera, the construction of that, and then I feel that I need to do the decorating off camera. I might make a video if I can manage with the time for decorating the cover, but even that I'm not sure. So yeah, I have to prioritize a little bit because it's taking so long for me, but yeah, that is what it is. So in the next video we will be working on the elements that will go on our front inside cover. And then the construction part of this folio is done. So finally we're getting there, for me at least. So thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. I hope to see you in the next one and continue the journey with me. So see you there. Bye bye.